Now out for a little run with Rua. Beautiful day, no breeze though unfortunately, but nice to be out. And if anything exciting happens, I'll record it for you. Not anticipating meeting much in fields like this, but just lovely to be out. Hey, 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 hey! Up. Now she didn't want a recall then, so I had to growl at her to get her to respond. So she's in full hunting mode. It's difficult to get him to recall because the desire to hunt is takes precedence over everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put her on the lead for a minute, and just going to tell you mistakes that people make in training. Right, so your dog is out there hunting, you attempt to recall the dog ignores you. Now that's very frustrating, I know, and can be get you kind of angry when you've put so much into the training and the dog then wants to ignore you and doesn't come back when called. So what I've seen people do, the mistake they make, is when they eventually get the dog back, they punish the dog. And of course for the dog, in the dog's mind, it's being punished for returning, because dogs live right in the moment. They don't live 5 minutes ago when you were calling them. That's forgotten. In the dog's mind, when the dog returns and you punish it, it sees itself being punished for returning. So it'll be even less inclined to return the next time you attempt to call it. So just be aware of that. It can be frustrating, and getting a dog to recall, particularly a dog with high hunting drive like this one, can be a very frustrating experience. She's designed to go out, or she's bred over many generations to cover a lot of ground, and when they get into the full hunting mode, as I call it, getting them to recall can be a difficult proposition, and it's a work in progress. It's going to take time. So that's what I'm at here today, and as well as firing a couple of shots just as just part of the ongoing training. So be aware of that. Right, something very important, although it might not appear so on the surface, it is very important. So what I'm going to do here now, before I release Rua to go hunting just behind the camera, I'm just going to get her to sit for a minute, just a few seconds, and then I'm going to take the lead off her and also make her sit for a second. Now the reason I do this is that Rua has to learn that she's working with me. See, all dogs when they start out hunt for themselves. She has to learn that she has to hunt with me, that we're a team. So in order to instill that into her head, it's a process, and this is part of the process where she understands that she cannot just run off and do whatever she likes whenever she likes. She has to work with me. So now what I'm going to do, now I've done this only a couple of times with her, so she doesn't really understand the word sit. I'm using hop, and I'm going to force her to sit, and I'm going to use the word hop, and I'll continue to do that until such time as that she will sit automatically when I say hop. Now that will also be useful when it comes to when she's flushing birds. When a bird flies, she should hop and watch the bird fly away instead of chasing it. At the moment, any bird that gets up, she's chasing it crazy, and I'm allowing her to do that for the time being. So this is a sort of a precursor for that aspect of training, which is further down the road. So now, hop, good girl, good girl. I'll just tell her she's a great dog for doing what I want. I'm going to take the lead off, and now, and her urge when she feels the lead coming off is to go, but I'm not going to allow it. Hop, good girl. There we are. So now that we have that done, and we will continue to do that every time now I go to release her off the lead, I'm going to get her just to sit just for a couple of moments, and you'll see as she progresses why this is important. Okay, Rua, up, go on. Hi. Good girl, hop. Good girl. Good girl. Now, you noticed I recalled her when she was coming towards me. Very important not to attempt to recall your dog while they're moving away from you, because what you're actually doing at that point is training them to ignore the whistle. So only until such time as the dog is completely trained to the recall, don't attempt to recall them while they're moving away from you. Now, I've got Rua in the sitting position. She's mad anxious to go again. Seems to have no end of energy and stamina, despite her tender age. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lead off and hop. I'm going to take the lead off and hold her to sit for another minute, and then I'm going to let her hunt out across here. This bit of a hill here where generally there's a couple of snipe. Hop, good girl. Good girl. Come on, get on. Now, she seems to have some form of scent here. Might surprise many people, but snipe can run, and run quite fast on their little spindles of legs. And they sometimes in still weather like this, they'll hear you coming and they'll run through the grass. And on a day like today, when there's almost no wind, she's trying to work, here we are, she's trying to work out the scent. Most likely it's a snipe. It may well be gone. So that bird that was around here is gone, evidently. So with this little camera, she appears to be miles away, but in fact she's probably around 200 yards away. Which is typically what I'd expect of a setter hunting this sort of country. They go even much further on mountains and stuff like that, but in farmland like this is generally a couple of 100 yards. Hey, 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 Rua, Rua, hey, 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 hey. Good girl, good girl. Hop, hop. There's an example now of putting pressure on the dog for recall. Now the dog was coming towards me. I started recalling her and she turned that direction to go away, and I could see her in her eyes. She wanted to go, go, go. But I let her know that that wasn't the story, that wasn't going to happen, and I let her know in no uncertain terms that she had to recall. Hi, hop. And that was a success that time. Now it doesn't always work. Sometimes even with that kind of pressure, the desire to hunt will overtake your demands and they'll continue to ignore you. But I was lucky at that point there. I put enough of pressure on her that she decided that the best thing to do was to recall to me. So sometimes that's what you'll have to do with a dog with a really strong hunting instinct. You have to sort of be careful when you actually intervene. If you intervene too early, when the dog's a bit further away from you. Now all of this of course is largely dependent on what kind of dog you have as well. I'm only using Rua as an example, but if you try to recall a dog, we'll just assume that she's over there at that hedge, which is approximately 120, 130 meters away. If she was running that direction up that hedge and you tried to recall her before she's properly recall trained, well then she'll likely ignore you. You need to intervene just at the right time, and I just caught it just right there. and I intervened and I got the response I wanted. So she's now learning from each experience like that, that she has to recall when I call her. Now, like I said, it's a somewhat delicate operation. You can put too much pressure on the dog too, or not enough. You have to figure it out as you go along, more or less. So in that case, like I said, I was lucky and I got it right, and she recalled perfectly. So I'm very happy with that, and I'm quite sure that we'll have other issues in the future trying to get her to recall in situations where she'd prefer not to. So I hope this is making sense. If it's not, just ask any questions in the comment section. Now I'm in a corner here, so the sound of the shot is going to be louder than normal. I want her to be interested in something before I fire the shots. There we go. It's fine, no problem. Her shot now, she's quite close. She noted it, but nothing negative. Good girl, come on, good girl. Good girl. Hop. Now each time she comes back to me, she's going to be set. And I'm going to put her on the lead now. And that's the end of today's training session, which I'm very happy with, because everything went according to plan. And always, whenever you finish up a training session, finish it on a positive note. Like I just did there. She recalled, and then I told her she was the best thing in the world. And that'll be her last little memory of today's session. You don't ever want to finish on a negative. So that's today's training session, folks. I hope you're enjoying my little sojourns with Rua here. As few people have asked me what exactly I'm hoping to achieve with her, and really what I want to achieve with Rua is to turn her into a Gundog. Hunting is, for the most part, farmland. Now, setters weren't really bred to hunt farmland. They were bred to hunt out in the mountains after grouse, but they've been adapted by a lot of people to hunt just farmland, and that's what I'm trying to get Rua to do. So her instinct is to head off for the horizon, if you like, because that's been bred into her for countless generations. But I'm kind of putting I suppose a limit on that, so that she'll hunt sort of more or less within a couple of 100 yards, which is typically the size of fields here locally, so that she stays in the field I'm in, and that she finds any game they're in, and that I can shoot it. And whether or not she'll retrieve remains to be seen. That's something for another video. Some setters will, some won't, and some will sometimes, and at other times they won't. So they're not retrievers in the true sense of the word. You need a Labrador for that sort of thing. So that's it, folks, for today. Hope you're enjoying it again, and if you like the video, please click the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, consider subscribing, and there's a link in the description to my Patreon page, where any support would be much appreciated. So from me and from Rua, Gundog an céadúr eile, slán go fóill.